Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, August 20th, 2026, and with the time being 7 o'clock p.m., we're going to call this regularly scheduled council meeting to order. Our invocation tonight, Zach or Kara Kaufman from Dream City Church.
That's right.
Oh, very good. So you're going to lead our invocation, and then we're going to do our pledges of allegiance. Anybody over here want to do the American pledge? Nobody? Megan. And Richard, you got the Texas pledge.
Chris wanted to do it.
Everybody, please rise.
Well, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council, for the honor and the opportunity to pray, and also to all our citizens. I just think Jesus is the answer to everything. Amen. Would you bow your heads with me and pray? Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with grateful hearts, and we recognize that every good and perfect gift comes from you. Jesus, thank you for the city of Alvin and for the families who call this community home, and for the men and women who have accepted the responsibility of serving and leading this city well. Your word tells us in James that if anyone lacks wisdom, we should ask of you because you give it generously. So tonight, God, we ask for wisdom. Your word reminds us in Proverbs that there is safety and abundance of counsel. So give our mayor, our city council, our city leaders wisdom to lead well and discern carefully. God, we recognize that policies and programs have their place, and they can accomplish much good, but only you can truly heal a broken heart. So give us wisdom not only to govern well, but to see people well, to recognize the hurting, to care for our neighbors, and never lose sight of the people behind the decisions we make. Above all, may Jesus be made known through the way we lead, serve, and love one another. We place this meeting, these leaders, and the city of Alvin in your hands. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Pastor, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Great prayer. Thank you. Be safe. Next, we're going to have two presentations. The first is going to be the presentation of City of Alvin Municipal Court Fines and Delinquent Tax Collections by Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott. You're not Mike Darlow.
I'm not. I am the better-looking Hayden Bartley. So happy to be here back in the City of Alvin. Today we're going to be talking about delinquent property taxes and fine and fees. We're going to start off with the delinquent property taxes. You guys don't have a delinquent property tax problem. The tax office is collecting about 97 to 98. It's hovering about 97.5% every year of your annual levy, leaving just a small portion that remain delinquent. I'd like to remind everyone that our service is at no cost to the city, so we don't get paid unless we collect. So we're highly incentivized to collect your delinquent taxes. The first chart I have is the account breakdown chart, and so that just kind of gives us some categories of where to focus our efforts to help us collect. So you'll see the largest section is action pending. That's going to be where we're making our phone calls, we're sending letters, we're doing everything we can to get in front of the taxpayer and get them to pay the property tax. When the letters and the phone calls don't work, then we'll move it into suit. We'll file a lawsuit, we'll serve all the parties, serve the lien holders, we'll set it for trial, we'll have trial, then have trial, which we have one tomorrow. So if you guys are bored at 10 o'clock and want to come down to Angleton, you're welcome to see me in action. And then after trial, we'll take judgments, and then eventually we'll set it for sale if the property taxes still aren't paid. So try to work with the taxpayer the whole way along the process. And then you see another large section is the deferral section. So the Texas Property Tax Code allows certain taxpayers in certain situations to defer the payment of the property tax. While an account's in deferral, we don't touch it. We just monitor it, and once that deferral goes away, then we'll take the appropriate action. That's typically done on your over 65 on your resident homestead. Then we have a dollar range chart. So just know that we work the range or the roll from the top down. We try to get the most amount of money in the door the quickest we can. And then we have a tax year chart. So you can see that the majority of the taxes are for the 2025 tax year, which is good because the newer they are, the easier they are to collect. And that number gets smaller as the time goes on. Next up, I've included some historical data charts. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm going to skip ahead to 2023. So for the first year, we were turned over an initial outstanding base tax of $355,000. In the first year from July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2025, we were able to collect $239,000, or roughly 67%. By the time this report was ran, we had bumped those numbers up to 77.82, or $276,000. Then for last year, so from July 1st to June 30th of this year, we were able to collect $277,000 out of the $410,000 that was delinquent, or roughly 67%. Next up, we have the total annual levy. So this is for what was just turned over to us in July. You can see that y'all levied $17.129 million in property tax. Of that, the tax office collected 97.4%. Leaving just $445,000 remaining for us to go collect. Are there any questions on the tax portion? All right. So we also do fine and fee collection. So over the life of the contract, we've been turned over $4.497 million to collect. We've received cash payments of $947 and $357. And then the court, on its own intuition, has disposed, cleared, or arrested the perpetrators to give another $2.3 million for a total resolution rate of 72%. So the court handles that. We just drive them to the court and try to get them to pay or take care of their obligations to the city of Alvin. Next up, I've got some maps for you so you can see the top accounts by zip code, the top 10 bad address accounts, and all accounts. So you can see people in Denver, people in New Orleans are coming through the city of Alvin. They're getting a ticket, and it's our job to go find them. So any questions on the fine and fees? All right. Well, thank you all. We appreciate the opportunity to work for y'all. And that's it.
That's
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Hayden, you're the guy from now on, Hayden.
All right.
Appreciate all you guys do for our city. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tell Mike we said hi.
Yes, sir. We'll
Yes,
do.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next we are going to have an annual department presentation from our EMS and emergency management.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
All right. Yeah, right? I had one that like that, but it just has like one picture on it. So, just to kind of start off, since we just got through some of the budget discussions, EMS is funded through an enterprise fund with a couple of different main sources of funding that come from that provide the funding for that. And it's the largest one is the revenues from insurance billing. The next is the water bill fee that's on the water bill, and then also the ESD contract that we have through Missouri County ESD 3 that provides funding for running the calls in the county or unincorporated areas. So if y'all have questions on that, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll move into the presentation. So we currently have had 18 employees full-time, and we have roughly 20 to 22 part-time employees. That fluctuates depending on their schedules, our schedules, and those kinds of things. We staff 2 trucks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a peak truck that is typically staffed with part-time employees that works from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So during the daytime hours, we have 3 trucks that are on the streets. We do a lot of community outreach programs. We have an in-house EMS training program, a training coordinator that provides continuing education, state-approved continuing education in-house for our staff. And then we also are an active part of the Texas Emergency Medical Task Force, which is a conglomeration of EMS and hospital providers that respond to disasters throughout the state. Our annual call volume is on this chart. And you can see we've had a pretty steady increase, about a 3 to 5% increase over the last 6 or 8 years. There was a spike in 2021, and that was the COVID spike that summer of 2021 where we had a lot of calls. almost 6,500 calls. We're getting closer to that now. Last year we had, I believe, 58 and some change. This year we're set, I think we're currently at 51, 57, and so we're projected to hit 5997, so right at just under 6,000 calls for the year, this fiscal year. So we stay pretty busy. That averages out to about 18 to 20 calls a day. Some days are lower. Some days we've hit 28, 30 calls in a day, which is a lot for 3 trucks. And with that, we have mutual aid agreements with surrounding cities, and currently our mutual aid rates fairly high, comparatively speaking. We provide about 5 to 10 mutual aids to other cities a month. We receive about 25 to 30 mutual aids from other cities a month, just because our trucks are busy. And it's not always just about the number of trucks, but it's really the timing of it, right? Because there's times where our crews may not run calls for hours, and then there's times where we may get 5 calls in 10 minutes. And so that's when we have those mutual aids, right? And so that's a constant struggle for us. What does help is the having a hospital in our area. Even the freestanding ERs, the Memorial Hermann, the HCA facilities allows us to transport patients there, and that cuts down our turnaround times, which means our trucks are back in service quicker and we can respond to more calls. This is our transport destinations. You can see the pie chart there. Majority of our patients that are transported go to HCA Clear Lake. The next one is UTMB Clear Lake, and then a large portion goes to Alvin ER. Memorial Hermann is on here. I think the Alvin Memorial Hermann is at 9% so far, but they've only been open for 8 months of this year, so they'll probably get close to the HCA numbers, which it ends up being about almost 1,000 patients. Last year we did about 1,000 patients to HCA Alvin, which is a lot, but it really helps our turnaround times. So these are the hospitals that we transport to. We just had a meeting this morning, and actually Deanna Bray, our deputy director, she runs most of the day-to-day operations for EMS. We met with Methodist Hospital. They're opening a convenient care center, freestanding ER in Pearland, and so they were talking to us about some of the abilities they have, and so that will be probably added to the list of destinations that we go to. Our response area is quite large. It's about 125,000 square miles. 125 square miles, not 125,000.
Texas.
Not that large. Feels like it sometimes. 125 square miles. And again, it includes about 100 square miles of unincorporated areas in the county. Our scene times are on average 19.8 minutes. Our response times are 8.4 anywhere in our district. Ideally, response times are 6 to 8 minutes. Because of our large district and one station, there's almost no way that that's going to happen. So we broke it down by the city. Our city response times are closer to 6, but on average, all the calls, 8.4 is a pretty good response, with some of those calls going out to almost to Roche-Aaron. Our hospital times are about 33 minutes or so, based on their busyness, right? A lot of times our crews will get stuck during high flu seasons and peak seasons where they'll get stuck waiting to offload our patients into the ER. And so we've had times where we call those wall times, where they're just parked in a hallway waiting to offload. And sometimes those can take up to 45 minutes to an hour, but not as often as it used to be, but it still does happen. And our total turnaround time is about 83 minutes for a transport. So almost an hour and a half from the time you call, the time that truck gets back in service. And that back in service time is usually when they leave the hospital, not when they get back into Alvin. If they leave Clear Lake Hospital, then we consider them available for a call, because it's quicker for them to respond from Clear Lake than it would be even to call Friendswood, because the dispatch log times, they're out of their dorms or out of their station times, we usually will get here quicker than a local agency could. And of those 18 part-time or full-time staff, we have 7 EMTs. Actually, 2 of those EMTs are paramedics, but we don't have paramedic positions funded. So they are paramedics, but they're at an EMT position because we fund 1 EMT, 1 paramedic per truck. We have 8 paramedics, including 2 in our admin, myself and Deputy Director Bray. And then we have an EMT that's also our administrative assistant who runs the office. Part-time staff, we have 12 part-time EMTs and 8 paramedics. Again, that kind of fluctuates depending on their availability. We've provided over 300 training hours in-house to our staff, anything from new equipment to infectious disease to vehicle safety, driving, operations, those kinds of things. And our motto is always to be nice and be helpful. If we can do those things every day, then that's what we consider success. What I've experienced in my tenures is, as a paramedic, is that people don't necessarily remember how well you started that IV, or if you knew the drug calculations off the top of your head. They realized what they really will remember is the care they got, right? If you were compassionate, if you were nice to them, you held their hand and got them through whatever crisis they're in. And so that's what we try to stress in our staff, is just to be compassionate, be caring, and that's what we look for in employees. I can teach people to be better paramedics. You can't teach people to be nicer. And it's part of our staffing plan. So with that, any questions?
I just want to say, way to go, because last year I think it was 88 minutes and you're down to 83. So, 5 minutes is a lot of time to get the truck back in service.
Yes.
It matters. Super, super happy with Memorial Hermann opening in town. Nearly 25% of your calls going in town. That's just huge. That's just huge. And your mutual aids have continued to come down over the last 3 years or 4 years. And obviously we want that to be as low as possible.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, all the numbers are heading in the right direction for sure, So I completely applaud, you and Deanna and the rest of your team. Fantastic. Just the other day, I was just going to mention so that the rest of the council and mayor gets to hear it. Just the other day at a fire scene, we were out on fire call in the middle of the night for 4 hours, and we had a firefighter need medical attention. They brought another box. They took care of them. They were respectful. And the crew that was there stood on their feet on the side of the road for 4 hours and never asked to leave. And it's very common. We don't see it from our PD or our EMS in town, but when neighboring agencies come to assist, that 35, 40 minutes, they're ready to go. So it just shows that that excellence and that commitment that you guys have and that y'all continue to instill on your staff. So nothing but respect. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that.
I'd like to echo his comments. I know y'all recently responded to a call. A friend of mine's dad was brutally attacked in his home, last Friday morning, and the family was very, very, very appreciative of the efforts of our EMS staff, how quickly they got there, the care that was provided, to Mr. Crosco, and just how quickly they were able to get him out of there. I think, probably had a large hand to do with his amazing recovery. That's
I've heard he's making remarkable progress. Yes, that's
God is
awesome.
good. So yes, thank you.
Amen.
But they wanted me to make sure we pass that along. That
Right.
they're very appreciative of y'all's efforts that night.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We do have really good staff, and I just sit and sign stuff. it's the people in the field that make it all happen for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, we'll move into emergency management. A lot of the same. There's a few changes that are coming for emergency management. With the crisis and things that have happened in Uvalde and with Kerrville, there's been a lot of legislative changes, and so we're working to keep up with those. Everything from requiring that we now have a PIO officer assigned in the city that has specific training by the state, and they're requiring everyone to I don't know if you know, but our emergency management plan is like 638 pages, and it consists of a basic plan and several annexes. Now they're changing that to where we're going to emergency support functions instead of annexes. So we were having to totally rewrite our plan over the next 3 years. So that's going to be a big challenge for us. Not too difficult. They've got some templates, and it's a lot of the same information. It's just a huge change in the format, changing in training requirements. Now the police officers, to get their advanced and masters, or I think is what the terms are, they have to have a lot of the incident command training courses. Typically, I teach about 2 or 3 of those a year. This year, I've taught 6, just because of the demand from the law enforcement side mostly. But we're working on those changes. Nothing that really impacts our operations so much, just more legislative things that we have to jump through. So the emergency management duties, conduct training for our staff. We work with Michelle and the engineering group with our hazard mitigation plan, which is a big part of it. Most of it deals with drainage and responses to that and the threats to the city, but that's a big part of our process. That also allows us, if we have a good mitigation plan that's been approved by the state, then that allows funding for a lot of mitigation grants after storms and things like that. So that's a big part of it. Supervision of development and approval of the emergency management plan. Again, keeping it up. Used to we had to update each annex every 5 years. Now the new one is going to be emergency support functions, and they're going to be every 3 years that they have to be updated. And then making sure that we're training our staff, make recommendations to the mayor for disaster declarations, all those things, and then ensure that the state and local requirements are all met. So part of that hazard analysis, we go through in the hazard mitigation plan and look at all the different threats that could potentially impact the city of Alvin, and we kind of rate those on whether they're, unlikely or likely or occasional, and then we base what type of damage and potentials that could come from that, and we try to address those issues and helps us prioritize those issues that we want to address in our planning. Again, our current emergency management plan includes a basic plan, 22 annexes, and it's updated every 5 years. And we were at the certified advanced level on our planning process, but now that they've instituted another one, all that as of May has changed. So we're currently in the process of switching over to the emergency support functions, which is more kind of departmental based or functional based, which we would have a section for on this slide, the example of ESF 1 is transportation, 2 is communications, public works, engineering, so on. And so that's how the plan will be organized by those support functions, which matches the state's plan and how they organize their system. Training, again, we've had, as of a few weeks ago, we've had 6 ICS incident command courses for the intermediate and 6 for the complex incidents. We've had some meetings with the TDM response and recovery groups on how we can better recover quicker in future events, and then also discussing how our previous experiences with Harvey and Burrell have impacted those grants and how we get our funding from them. Brazoria County Health Department, mass distribution, we participate with them in the event where there's a biological attack or another infectious disease outbreak, on how we respond with those. We have a trailer at the city that the health department provides that gives us a response trailer if we needed to provide mass antibiotics or that kind of thing, part of the county's preparedness plan. So we play a big part of that as well. We attend the emergency management conference every year. Several staff from the city goes to that. We participate in the Brazoria County Hurricane Expo every year. I'm on the planning committee for that. And then we also provide training to the community emergency response teams or the CERT teams through Homeland Preparedness Project. And then we do emergency communications with the having backup radio systems. We have the backup cell phone towers that we purchased a couple of years ago through a grant. Because when we had that ice storm, was that 2022, I think, we lost some of our internet connections and cell phone towers. So now the city owns 2 portable cell phone towers that we can connect via satellite. And then so far this year, we've activated or partially activated our EOC. It's all been partial activations this year, either through in-person meetings or through virtual meetings with a 26 winter storm. Not too big of an impact from that, but we did have discussions and planning meetings on that. We have planning meetings on the Crawfest, the Tour de Bras, and then we had the Tropical Storm Arthur and Tropical Storm Bertha that has already impacted our area. Thank goodness they were minor to no impacts, but anytime those things pop up, we're already in the planning process. We try to lean forward and making sure that we're all staying coordinated and planning appropriately. And then Alvin Alerts is our main communication to the public. If you haven't already signed up, you should sign up. Go to our website. At the bottom of the page, it says Alvin Alerts notification system, and you can register there. It's a little bit complicated in that you have to create a username and a password, and but by doing that, you can set up how you want to be notified and what things you want to be notified. Don't pick lightning alerts. I can tell you from experience. I turned that off after about a month because it lightnings a lot around here. But you can pick what types of alerts you want, and that's how we'll push out notifications during an emergency. We used it during Harvey, and we've used it in a couple other instances as well, and it seems to be a pretty good platform. And then the best preparedness is being prepared at home, making sure that you and your family are prepared, the public's prepared. Obviously, the better community prepared we are, the less government is expected to do and government needs to do, right? And so if everybody has 3 or 4 days of food and medications and water at home, then we're not having to request the National Guard and the state to set up pod distributions of MREs and ice and water and all those things, right? And so by being prepared individually, we're prepared as a community, and as a community, we rely less on other people that may or may not come through. So, any questions?
Do you know how many people are on the Alvin Alerts?
We have
signed up for it?
I know we have about 9,000, I want to say 500-ish
You probably have a lot
persons
of people in the
registered.
county too that would participate.
We do have people in the county as well. And then some of those, so you can add, I think, up to 3 to 5 numbers per account. And so a lot of people have, they register for an account and then they put their children or parents' phone numbers on their account. And so one account could cover 3 or 4 or 5 different phone numbers. And so
It's more than I expected.
9,000, it's a pretty good number based on most cities and what kind of participation they get. But we're always trying to push it out, make sure everybody's connected.
Cool.
Okay,
Thank you, Ron.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Next, we will move into public comment. We've got 2 this evening. Amy Ordno, if you would like to come up first, please.
Hello, I've met most of you all before. I'm Amy with Texas Pride Disposal. We're the garbage hauler in the city. I realized kind of after this was already on my calendar that we're going to be on the September 3rd calendar, but you were discussing budget, so I just wanted to be here in case during the budget conversation, not this conversation, if you have any questions or anything for me, but I will wait for those comments, I guess, September 3rd. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You welcome.
Sure, I can stick around or whatever. I just wanted to make sure I was available in case there were any questions or anybody want anything.
Well, they can't respond.
I know during this section, I didn't know if during the budget, I previously was told that maybe it doesn't matter. Anyways, I'll be back on the 3rd.
We have a budget hearing.
Okay,
You want to come back up then?
okay. I will be here on the 3rd to answer any questions for what we have going on with us. just checking in, saying hello. We're working on your annual report right now, so everything should be coming up in the next few months that you have everything. Just wanted, it was on my calendar. I want to come by and say hi. So that's all. That's all I have. I know you can't ask me any questions. If you have anything, just email me directly. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Jonathan Mulder.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jonathan Mulder. I'm here tonight because I understand the city is considering a budget for the upcoming year that would reallocate the economic development funds away from the current program and towards consulting for another project. I'm currently under contract to purchase Wright's Corner Strip Center at 111 East House Street, and I'm planning a significant renovation on the property. The city's reimbursement program is directly connected to my decision to pursue this project. When I first looked at the property, I wasn't sure if it made financial sense. The amount of work needed is significant, and without the program, the margin for error on a project this size becomes much smaller. And honestly, without that program, I may not have decided to pursue the property at all. I think that it's important when looking at downtown Alvin as a whole. A lot of these older properties simply aren't worth the cost of putting the necessary money into them in their current condition. But at the same time, demolishing and starting over is often even more expensive. That creates a gap where properties can sit vacant for years. The reimbursement program helps close that gap. It gives investors a reason to take on properties that otherwise may not make financial sense, and it helps turn older buildings into usable space for local businesses. In my case, the project will create tenant-ready space and could bring approximately 20 jobs to the area. It also gives me the opportunity to invest my own money into improving a property in downtown Alvin. I also think these programs are especially valuable for younger entrepreneurs or people who don't have a bunch of money sitting in the bank. They give people an opportunity to take on projects, invest in Alvin, and build something here that may not otherwise be able to afford. I understand the city has to make a decision about where the funds are best used, and I'm not here to tell you that another project isn't important. I'm simply asking for you to consider what the reimbursement program does for projects like mine and the long-term development of downtown Alvin. For me personally, this program helped turn a project I wasn't sure I could take on into one that I felt was worth the risk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Next, we are going to conduct a public hearing. The public hearing is to receive comments on the proposed fiscal year 26-27 annual budget. So with the time being 7:33, we will open the public hearing. If there's anyone present that would like to come up and speak on the proposed budget, please come to the podium and state your name and address and your piece. Again, this is a public hearing to receive comments about our proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget. If you would like to come forward and speak, please do so now.
I'm Gary Reese. I've lived in Alvin since 2003. I moved here because the prices were right on property, taxes were excellent, and I'm a little bit, I don't understand why there's a need to up the taxes when, since I've been here since 2003, can't say exactly, but there's been at least 10 to 12 residential buildings built, city, not city, but individual residents. And I don't see a need for an increase in taxes with all the people that have come into Alvin. Excuse me. When I came here in 2003, there was about 20,000 people. We picked up at least 7,000 to 8,000 people. And the question I have for you all is, each one of you represents someone, and the person who represents me, I want them to know that I do not want my taxes increased. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Going once, going twice? Then this public hearing is closed at 7:35 PM. Next, first, thank you for coming forward. We were having this discussion earlier, not too many people come forward, so thank you for speaking up.
I got this Alvin Sun, which has become an advertisement magazine. But this week, they mentioned the political system on increasing taxes for the first time in many years. And it motivated me to come in it and give my opinion.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to the consent agenda. Is there anything, starting you, Councilmember Davis, you'd like to remove from the consent agenda?
No, Mayor. No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Then I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
Can you do it again?
Try confirm again.
You can do verbal.
Hit vote.
There you go.
All right. Items on the consent agenda are consider the approval of the August 6, 2026 City Council Workshop Minutes. Also the approval for the August 6, 2026 City Council Meeting Minutes. Consider and take action to set the date for the official adoption of the fiscal year 2026-2027 annual budget for the City Council meeting on September 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the Alvin City Annex Building, 302 West House Street, in accordance with Texas Local Government Code 102.007. Consider ordinance 26-0 by the City of Alvin, Texas, amending Chapter 12, Health and Sanitation of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alvin, Texas, for the purpose of amending Article 1 in general by revising definitions, code compliance officer, shopping cart, junk, refuge, premises, and trash, amending Section 12-4, mowing requirements, public nuisance declared, amending Section 12-5, notice of violation, amending Sections 12-9, enforcement and penalty, providing severability, providing penalties, and setting forth other provisions related thereto. Mayor?
Thank you, ma'am. Next, moving on to other business. Item A, consider resolution 26R27 nominating Schlumberger Technology Corporation located at 14910 Airline Road South, Rocheron, Texas, within the City of Alvin's extraterritorial jurisdiction as an enterprise project pursuant to the Texas Enterprise Zone Act, Chapter 2303 of the Texas Government Code, in support of the proposed investing in its Rocheron campus and providing for other matters related thereto.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is a resolution for nominating Schlumberger into the Enterprise Project. What they are planning to do is make significant investments into their current campus when it comes to improving the technology and potentially improving the site itself for for addressing the next generation materials and processes needed for their business. Here tonight with us is Jonathan Ferguson, who's with the consulting firm representing Schlumberger. Schlumberger is not in the city. They are in our ETJ, but also it's important to note that the enterprise designation will not affect the city's coffers or revenues whatsoever. It's only for state-related sales tax reimbursements. If there's any questions, Robert and myself would be happy to answer.
So
John-
this
Jonathan.
is more or less just a formality for us to nominate Schlumberger as a part of this so that they could potentially get state funds.
Indeed.
Thank you.
I have a question because in the ordinance that's proposed, it says that The local incentives offered under the resolution are the same on this date as were outlined in ordinance number 22-AAA. And so there's a copy of that in our agenda packet. And it talks about the city may abate taxes or provide economic sales tax contributions or provide local sales tax refunds or tax increment financing or regulatory relief or variances or all these different things that may affect the city's coffers. And so if it's not going to do that, is there any way that we can rewrite or revisit the language that we're approving to make sure that there isn't any loophole for tax money to be spent or sales tax money to be given to Schlumberger that's not inside the city limits at a later date? Because it's very clear in the language, if you read it, that there's a possibility that that could happen. So I would feel more comfortable if the language were amended maybe, or more clear rather.
Understood.
So that's my concern.
A good one. We have two responses here for you tonight. We have one from our city attorney.
And that response would be that this is a broad ordinance, and it allows for the city to do lots of different kinds of grants and things like that. This particular one doesn't include any money from the city. It's simply a nomination of Schlumberger so that they can apply to the state for a reimbursement of sales tax based on hiring certain employees for this project. The ordinance allows us, but doesn't mandate us, to offer other incentives in this case or in other cases. At this time, we are not offering anything to Schlumberger.
Okay, that leads me to my next question then. Then what would the benefit to the citizens of Alvin be to approve this ordinance?
Would you like to comment?
Sure. Thank you for having us here tonight. Well, there is certainly no detriment to the city of Alvin or its residents. It simply is just a state financial incentive. No outlay on the part of the city. The city of Alvin is merely going through this formality, as you said, of nominating the company to the state to be able to submit an application, because their Rose Sharon campus, Schlumberger's Rose Sharon campus, is located technically in the city's ETJ, since Rose Sharon is not an incorporated municipality.
No, how would that benefit the citizens of Alvin?
And I can address that as well. As part of their requirements, they're required to hire for their new employees 35% under certain categories, including veterans and disadvantaged people, and that will be from the ETJ of Alvin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 26P. Hold on, wrong one, sorry. I jumped down, didn't I? Sorry about that. I went too far. Somebody wants to jump in?
Mayor, move to approve resolution 26R27 nominating Schlumberger Technology Corporation located at 14910 Airline Road, South Rose Sharon, Texas, within the city of Alvin's extraterritorial jurisdiction as an enterprise project pursuant to the Texas Enterprise Zone Act, Chapter 2303 of the Texas Government Code, in support of the proposed investment of its Rose Sharon campus and providing for other matters related thereto.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
Freaky today.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item B, consider ordinance 26P, amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alvin by amending Section 2-24B, Rules of Procedure, to allow citizens the right to be heard during regular meetings of the City Council regarding matters on the agenda, providing a repealer clause, providing a severability clause, providing for publication, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, City Council members, Ordinance 26P is a proposed amendment to Section 2-24B of the city's Code of Ordinances. This is the code that specifies the rules and regulations for public comment. The purpose of this amendment is to bring the city's ordinance more in line with the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act requires that citizens be allowed to speak regarding any item on the agenda before the council votes on that item. The city ordinance as it exists right now goes further than that and also allows citizens to speak on any non-agenda items. The problem that creates is that it actually muzzles the city council because you're not allowed to respond to any of the comments that those citizens make. By restricting their comments to agenda items, the council is then free to ask them questions, to discuss among themselves whatever the issue happens to be, because it's on the agenda, so it's been properly noticed under the Open Meetings Act, and city council members will not inadvertently violate the Open Meetings Act. The ordinance keeps in place all of the other regulations, including the 3-minute rule. It modifies that slightly in that the city secretary will no longer be the one responsible for that 3-minute timing. It's going to be the mayor or his or her designee. I know that one of the concerns for some council members is that it might deprive citizens of the ability to bring issues before the council. And my response to that would be that we have a representative democracy. And the citizens of this city have elected council members from each district, 2 city council members at large, and a mayor at large. So citizens have multiple opportunities to bring issues to the council members. And when they bring those issues to you individually, you then have the opportunity to question them and discuss the issue with them because you're not sitting in quorum. When you're sitting in quorum, you have certain restrictions about what you can and can't say. The staff recommends approval of Ordinance 26P, and I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
So the way the ordinance is written now, if somebody walks up to public comment and is discussing an item that is on our agenda, are we allowed to respond to that?
Yes, you are.
Mayor, I completely understand the reasoning and the need for this, but I'm just not comfortable doing it. And the reason why is we have Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, senior citizens, senior center, everybody in the community who, they do have the right and they have the ability to do that, but unfortunately, and when I say this, please understand, they're not educated on that part. I'm not saying they're not educated as far as schooling, they're not educated on that ability, they don't understand how it works. So their only opportunity is to come up here, because that's what they know. A lot of them, I'm pretty sure you field phone calls just like I do. We get a lot of people that come up here, and half of them don't want to come up because we can resolve it by a phone call with the city manager or department head, whatever it is. I think we have a lot of participation in the public comment when it comes to community events, problems like, like the lady who came the other day and was talking to Brandon about her drainage over by your house. Again, I understand why we need it, but I'm just not comfortable pushing that forward at the cost of eliminating that part. I understand what you're saying is we can't communicate back and forth, but if they do come up to us at a public comment with an agenda item issue, we can communicate back and forth. And I'm not trying to take away from your work, Mark, please understand that. And again, my fellow council members, Mayor, I understand why we want this, but I'm not comfortable at the collateral damage it's gonna cause.
Is there, thank you, is there an opportunity for us to maybe create 2 publicly, hey, we've got something that is just an announcement from, for the John Berkeys of the world that want to come up and tell us about the senior center? Can we have like a yellow sheet for public comment related to agenda items, and then maybe a blue sheet that's, hey, we're just gonna make announcements? Something along those lines, or is that?
Another line
Or
item.
we just kind of muddying the waters here?
In my opinion, if you want to do something like that, there's no reason to change the ordinance as it is. I mean, the whole purpose of this change is so that at city council members, you're discussing city business that's on the agenda.
So I got involved with city council because I came and gave a public comment. I would have had no idea at that time if it was on the agenda or not. So sometimes we do hear about those things like drainage and issues that people have that they don't know the correct avenue of how to get in contact with their council member, who their council member is, where to go, but they know there's a meeting at this time, be there, what do I need to do? Oh, a yellow sheet? Okay, they figure it out. I'm not comfortable with changing that at this point.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mayor, the majority of the participants in public comment are senior citizens or are youth. Unfortunately, technology advances faster than we do, and some of our senior citizens don't know how to operate the email or the website to get in contact with us, or a department head or the city manager. Our youth do, but they're kids. So, again, I understand why we would want this, but I'm just not comfortable with the collateral damage.
Actually, I agree with it. I think it's, we can be upended fairly easy. We can be inundated with public comment. I think we have a right to an orderly meeting, and we need to be able to hold that right and do our meetings efficiently and get the work done that we're supposed to do. I don't feel like this infringes on anybody's ability. I feel like if they come here to fill out a form, they say, oh, you can't do that, but there's your representative. You can talk to them, or you can talk to them after. I just feel like it's much more efficient. And again, we get to interact and respond to those things. Even if we talk about them, about what they said specifically later on the agenda when it comes up, we can address that specific concern. And there's lots of times where you can't say anything to people on the public comment you want to. So, I don't know, I just feel like it's much more efficient to do it this way.
Would the public be able to talk through council members, like with the items of community interest? Like, I want to talk about this, but it's not on the agenda. So you're my representative. Will you do it for me? Is that how that would work?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Burke, you could essentially say, hey, Gabe, I've got an announcement, and that, maybe that was it, maybe, okay, so that was, I asked my question wrong, because now I remember what I was gonna say. So the announcements, they come on like a blue sheet, and they all come to me, and then, maybe I disperse those at the end of the meeting and say, hey, these are the announcements that were asked to be read on behalf of citizens. You guys each take one and make the announcement on behalf of, and still, that was my suggestion, not having to in the
Yes, and of
beginning
course
do
you
that.
could do that.
So that's what's gonna be my suggestion to say, hey, somebody's got something they wanna say, but I do like, what Paul said, it's, hey, there's your council member right there, go grab them before the meeting starts, we've got a lot of adults in this community, and I find it hard to believe that adults don't know how to find City Hall and don't know how to pick up the phone and call City Hall and say, I have a problem, and then they have to actually come here for a 3-minute meeting to hear their voice. But I do understand that there are those times where people say, I've been making calls, and then they come here out of desperation. But again, I think that's when they say, here, have a conversation with your council member, or go talk to the mayor directly. I agree with Councilman Moore. I think that this cleans up our meetings. We eliminate a lot of the drama that's been coming in lately, and it keeps us more to the point.
Fantastic.
Any other questions? Any questions?
Off the coin.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 26P, amending Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alvin by amending Section 2-24B rules of procedure to allow citizens the right to be heard during regular meetings of the city council regarding matters on the agenda, providing a repealer clause, providing a severability clause, providing for publication, and providing an effective date.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
Vote again.
You guys got to confirm.
All right, motion fails with Garibay, Davis, and, no, I'm sorry, Garibay, Davis, DeKaiser, and Salter voting no.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, consider ordinance 26Q, amending chapter 28, comprehensive fee ordinance of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Alvin, Texas, for the purpose of revising certain water and wastewater fees for residential and commercial customers, providing for a 10% penalty for a late payment, providing for an effective month of October billing cycles for the fiscal year 26-27, and setting forth other provisions related thereto.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you, the ordinance before you is to adjust our water and wastewater rates based on our Freeze and Nichols water rate study done back in 2023. At that time, it was proposed some increase to our water and wastewater rates at that time. The prior 2 years, we were fortunate enough to forego any of those required increases. But as it stands now, we are looking to issue $32 million in revenue bonds to cash flow the wastewater treatment plant facility and other water-related projects. And with that, we are going to need to increase our water and wastewater rates by 13%. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't really have any questions, but I would like to just kind of talk about why this is necessary a little bit more, just so the public, for who's watching, in the interest of transparency, so they can understand what's going on a little better. And so you mentioned that we avoided a water rate increase, rather, the past couple of years, even though it was recommended by the consultants who did a study for us. And because of that, now we're having to raise them to pay for the infrastructure improvements to the water and wastewater facility.
Right. So,
right? Generally?
Yes, generally. So the water rate study basically outlined, they take in our operational costs as well as our capital projects that were anticipated to be completed in both fiscal year 24, 25. Those projects were reprioritized, deferred basically, to help focus on using the cash flow on hand to fund the wastewater treatment plant, a couple lift station projects, I forget the exact project numbers. And so some of the other projects have either been pushed out a number of years or are in the plan to be done with this new debt issue, which is the $32.5 million. So all along, if you look at the water rate study from 23, these increases were anticipated. They've just been stalled basically because those projects were not done at that time. Again, the majority of the projects that were done with the first drawdown of the revenue bonds that were issued, again, were the lift station projects. I think it was 33 and 23, and the wastewater treatment plant.
I'd like to reiterate too, this is the expense we put the impact fees.
Yes, sir.
We already paid $4 million towards this to reduce it to this amount.
Yep.
And we stalled it a year. Didn't we do that last year? So we've kind of waited as long as we can on top of that.
And also, this is a TCEQ requirement based on our capacity. So take that into consideration as well.
And the year before we stalled, we minimized the increase because of savings, right?
Yeah, and we delayed issuing the revenue bonds. But it's only so many years you could delay, because we signed the contract for the expansion to happen, so we're actually under contract now. We just need to secure the funding.
So this has been in the works for a while. It's required by TCEQ. It's necessary for our infrastructure
That is correct.
And growth, yes.
and growth, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
If there are no more questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 26Q, amending chapter 28 comprehensive fee ordinance of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alvin for the purpose of revising certain water and wastewater fees for residential and commercial customers, providing for a 10% penalty for late payment, providing for an effective month of October billing cycle for the fiscal year 2026-2027, and setting forth other provisions related thereto.
Second.
Thank you, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item D, consider if any requests from individual council members for items to be placed on any upcoming agendas. Caravan?
No, Mayor.
No, sir.
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Very good. Then we'll move on to reports from city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I have one thing to report. I've officially, or my office has officially moved to the recreation center. So if a citizen needs to get in contact with my office or want to come visit, they are to go to the recreation center. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, next, items of community interest. Starting back over here with Councilmember Davis.
None, Mayor.
Don't forget to come out to Hispanic Heritage Festival on September 19th, Saturday, put on by the Museum Society, and also application period to become a volunteer firefighter is open for about the next 60 days.
I'd like to invite everyone out to the Keep Alvin Beautiful's 25th birthday party, August 27th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Alvin Train Depot to celebrate their work they've done here in town for the last 25 years.
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Very good. Well, with that, we are adjourned.